Welcome, everybody, to another interview episode of Lockdown 23 in 1. That's right, today we're going to be hearing from Wade Wilson's father. And for anybody that hasn't been following this case, Wade Wilson killed 2 innocent women very gruesomely. And we're going to get into some of those details today and how he confessed everything to his father. Not to mention, we're going to go into how his father feels about all this and speak about some things that weren't even brought up in the courtroom. So let's get into it. If you enjoyed this type of content, all things lockup and crime related, then this is absolutely where you need to be. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell before you leave, and check out my playlist with many more videos for you to start watching today. All right, buddy, so what's your name and where are you from for the people that might not know?
My name is Steve. I'm from Lakeland, Florida.
All right, let's start from the beginning, man. Take the ship.
I was young. My mom and dad had they divorced, so it was just me and her. And my sister was ripping and running, and I knew Wade's mom, and she got pregnant. I was 15, she was 14. And, we tried. My mom, she had lung cancer, and she was excited to be a grandma, and she died a month before he was born. So,
I mean, what'd you do after that? That's pretty much the only person that you're leaning on at the time, right?
yeah, I had an older cousin who just graduated college, and she gave, power of attorney to him before she died. And, she was pregnant with his name was Anthony. She was pregnant with him when my mom died. So I went through that, and, I stayed with her, with Wade's mom a lot, and then she went into labor, went to the hospital, had him, and brought him home. Had him, for a few months, and then I got in some trouble, and I ended up doing 8 months in a juvenile program. And, I know it was hard on her being so young and alone, basically with a baby. So
And who was she staying with at the time?
She was staying with her grandfather. In Tampa.
Yeah. In Tampa. Okay. All right. At least she had someone to lean on a bit,
Yeah, she had a good family. Her parents and grandparents, they were good people.
Okay. So you get your 8 months. She keeps the baby around. At what point does the whole adoption process come through? That came into play pretty soon after, or what?
Yeah, I was about to get out in 2 months, and I got a legal document saying that she was putting him up for adoption. And I was a kid. I didn't really have nobody to have my back, so it was what it was. I couldn't fight that. I wanted to at that time, but I couldn't do anything about it.
I mean, at that age, it might have been for the best anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I know me at 15.
Yeah. Listen, as I've matured, I understand that was 100% the right decision to do. So, I'm not upset about it. So,
yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people agree. Including myself. All right, so, and that's pretty much the end of that. He just kind of vanished off into the adoption process, and I mean, now after the fact, later on down the road, if he lived in a somewhat decent foster care.
Yeah, the people that adopted him, his mother, her parents knew these people from their church. So
yeah, I think I remember reading about that.
Yeah, and they were looking to have a baby boy. So it just worked out where they adopted him, and gave them a good life. They're good people.
Did you know about any of that?
I didn't know specifically who it was or anything. I just knew they were from the church that her parents went to, and
Yeah.
I know at one point they moved to Tallahassee. I heard that over the years,
Uh-huh.
but that was it. I never had any contact or anything.
Okay. And some point y'all end up linking back up.
Yeah,
How did that go
um,
down?
just random. When he was 18, um, I think he had reached out to his mother, and I hadn't seen her or talked to her since he was given up for adoption.
Really?
And
Wow.
yeah, so I got a message or something that he had reached out to her and was looking for me as well. So we got in touch like that.
Okay. Okay. So break it down. The first time meeting up with him, man. Well, first off, are you a tall? Are you tall?
No,
Well,
absolutely
he's
not.
pretty tall, right?
I don't know where he got that from. He didn't get it from us, I promise you.
He might not be yours, man.
Luckily, I did get the DNA test, so I know that for sure.
I hate to say that, bro. I'm just
It's
playing,
all
man.
good.
But
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I'm like, where the hell did this dude get this height from? Everybody keeps saying he's 6'5". He's not 6'5".
skips a generation or something. Oh, he's not 6'5"?
No, he's not 6. He's like 6'3", but
Six
still
three,
tall.
6'3" and a
Don't
half.
get me wrong.
He's six
He's
three,
tall.
but okay, that's
Yeah,
tall.
he's tall. He's still taller than me. I promise that.
Oh my goodness! All right, man. I'm trying not to laugh at this type of stuff right now. You know what I mean? But you meet up with him. I mean, how was it? Where'd y'all meet up at for the first time?
We talked on the phone.
Yeah, but
That's
how
how we
much did
kind
you
of
talk to him before you ended up meeting up in person?
a lot,
Yeah,
a lot.
he
Because
seemed
I'll be
normal.
honest, huh?
He seemed normal.
No, absolutely not.
Oh no!
But
From the
you
but
have to understand. By the time he came into my life, we were in opposite ends of everything. Um, he was where I what once was.
oh
He was in
man.
active addiction. He was, doing that thing. Just everywhere.
I mean, did he
Needing,
tell you this when he first? Did he tell you
yeah,
straight up? Hey, I'm addicted to this, that, and the third. Or
yeah,
okay, he just straight up told you, huh?
yeah. Well, we talked, and I knew, I could tell, and I told him about my past, and he told me where he was at that time, and you know, it really, I felt like I needed to make up lost time. So, anything he wanted, I was sending him money, getting him hotel rooms, sending him Ubers, anything
Yeah,
he needed, you know.
yeah.
And he was, in and out of jail. He ended up going to prison, and he did about a year, and that's where he lost his teeth at. Um,
How'd that happen?
he just got jumped on, you know. He doesn't do good with men.
Yeah,
He's not built like that.
yeah,
He's a coward when it comes to men.
yeah,
That's the truth. When he was in prison, he was checking in multiple times, owing people money, just doing that stupid stuff.
mm.
So his anger's always been towards women. It's he doesn't try men like that.
Well, was there any? I mean, was there any time where you felt like that you seen him get violent with women before any of this other stuff took place?
Oh yeah. Yeah. What would end up happening is, he would get with a girl and they'd hang out, rip and run for a while, and then something would happen, and she'd end up calling me. He choked me out, he jumped on me last night. I don't know what to do. He scares me, all that. And and when he would be high, that's when he gets so paranoid, and he just loses it, you
Yeah.
know. He
Yeah.
he becomes a different, how alcohol makes some people courageous, you
Yeah.
know. When he would do meth, that's what would happen. But it was always with women, you know. He's never had a problem with women, getting women. So that's who he would always take everything out on, is women.
Did he have any kind of relationship with his mom after the whole adoption thing?
A couple times, she, I think the adoption has hurt her worse than people think, you know. And the older she got, she just never could pull out of it, man. She's been in and out of prison. She's
So you've
she's
been
lost.
in his life way more than his mom.
I mean, yeah, yeah. She's battled her own issues. She still is trying to get her stuff together. You know, so there was a few times where he'd want money from me because he'd want to go down to Tampa or St. Pete and run the streets with her. And I said, I'm not doing that.
Wait, with
I'm
his
not
with the
gonna
mom?
with his biological
Oh,
mom.
okay. Okay, so she was
And I
ripping and
told
running
him,
with him a little bit.
well, that's what they were trying to do, but I told him, I'm not sending you down here for that. That's gonna end you up in trouble. I don't want that for you. And you don't that's your mom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's wild, man. All that put together, it could definitely do something to
Yeah,
a young man's mind as a child and going up. That's just how it is. Some
yeah.
people it doesn't affect. Some people it does, and also like I said to you before, some eggs just come out bad,
Yeah.
and there's nothing that you can do about it. It's mental issues, man. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Something's wrong with the ticker.
One thing I've heard a lot of is people have said that when she was pregnant with Wade or Anthony, whatever back then, that she used drugs, and that's not true.
Okay.
She never used drugs with him. She didn't drink. She didn't smoke. She didn't do any of that. Now,
Yeah.
as far as any mental illness, I don't know about that
Yeah.
because we haven't seen each other or dealt with each other. So I know she's battled addiction, but she never used with him when she
Yeah.
was pregnant.
Well, I mean, she was young. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
He was a kid, like me.
yeah, it was different time and age too. I mean, now, I mean, yeah, young people can be addicted, but
Yeah,
the majority ain't getting into that super hard stuff till a little older. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But anyways, speaking of which, since you clarified about something, is there any other type of things that you might want to, kind of clarify that you might have been hearing that might be some misconfusion?
One thing I've learned from this whole incident is, I used to be the type that would like scroll through videos and, oh, that's so sweet, or man, that's messed up. And I believed them. I believed the videos. One thing I have learned
Oh, now
from
you
this,
don't.
man, I don't believe nothing because I see so many videos of whoever posting these videos like they have facts about something, and they don't even know the half of it, you know?
Yeah.
And it really pisses me off because I'll tell you one thing that pisses me off. They want to post everybody's records, you know? Anybody who was involved with this case, they want to post their records.
Yeah.
I don't give a damn if you post my record.
Yeah.
Anybody that knows me knows my past.
Yeah.
So it doesn't affect me at all. But, you know, I read these comments and videos that say, how can we believe these people? Look at their past. They've been arrested. They've been to jail. They've been drug addicts. But you can't have it both ways. Wade's a drug addict. Wade's been to prison. Wade has a past. So you're defending him because you believe he's innocent, and that's your choice. But you can't criticize or judge anybody else about their past when the person you're defending has the exact same past and a lot worse than most.
Yeah.
So I just think it's so hypocritical,
Oh, yeah. A lot of things
that
can be, for
yeah.
sure.
And I've even seen stuff, about my wife, because I had the phone on speakerphone. And my wife was subpoenaed to testify. She didn't want to testify. I didn't want to testify. But they chose not to use her. So, people have questioned that, why did the wife what? Why didn't they? It's just ridiculous. It's almost like people are trying to just find anything to justify how they feel about this case.
They wanted someone else to blame other than Wade. Like,
Exactly. Exactly.
you've already heard this question quite a bit. Let's start about around the time when he tells you about the first murder.
Yeah.
How the hell did that go down, man? Did you even believe him at first?
No. He's never told me a story like that. Hey, I killed somebody. Usually it's a long drawn out, my car's broke down, or his girlfriend's car's broke down. We need tires. We need this. So it was always those type of kind of junky move stories. And just needing help. But so when he called me, I was working. It was early afternoon, and it was a random number that I didn't recognize, but that was normal. He would call me from all different kinds of numbers. He couldn't keep a phone. So I answered the phone, and he said, "Hey, Dad, I need some help." Well, I automatically thought, he needs a hotel, he needs money for
Yeah.
whatever. So it was a hot day. I was frustrated. I said, "Listen, call me around dinner time. I'll be done working. Just call me then. We'll figure it out." So he calls me, and he's in a panic. I could tell he's high, and I need help. I've done something I can't take back. There's two people that aren't with us anymore, and
Did you know any of those girls?
uh,
Didn't know
no,
nothing about them, huh?
I live 2 hours away. So I'm not familiar with that area at all.
Yeah.
Um, and my first thought was, oh God, here we go. I just thought he was on one. And we talked for a few minutes. I said, "Listen, I'm on my way home." I said, "Call me back tonight and we'll figure it out." I said, "Are you safe where you are?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm in the house. I'm good." I said, "All right." So in the meantime,
And he's already
I
told
get
you
it.
about taking two people out.
Yeah, but it was general. That's all he said. And he didn't say, he just said, "I've done something I can't take back." So,
Now, look, I know
and
you've told, I hate to stop you. I know you've told
yeah,
this story before, but I haven't heard it. I haven't heard it.
yeah,
Honestly, I haven't
yeah.
heard it. Even in the court trial, I just kind of, watched that little snippet that they had.
hmm
But my next move probably would have been to tell my old lady.
That that was part of it, because here's where I kind of get things twisted sometimes. I'm a changed person, I promise you.
Uh-huh.
But a lot of times I go back in that mode, okay? And I know when something's going on, a lot of times I just react and I don't take a breath and think about it. And that was part of it. I wanted to get home. I wanted to talk to my wife because I knew there was a different vibe about this conversation with him, but I just wasn't ready for it yet. But I knew something was coming. So I did. I went home, but
I hate it. I'm putting
No,
myself in
anytime,
your
anytime.
shoes, man. I'm putting myself in
Yeah.
your shoes. Immediately, I would have been like, I'm going to the crib. And I already know what my old lady can say. Look, he killed someone. Record everything. That's the first thing she's gonna tell me to do. Record.
Yeah.
She's got 4 different recordings and recording every end.
Yeah. The good thing about my wife is I've known her longer than I've known, Wade's biological mom.
Wow.
So she knows everything about me.
Wow. That's a long
So
time. Well,
yeah.
before you move forward, look, you being locked up and you know that this kind of conversation's on its way. Are you feeling any kind of paranoia?
No,
No?
because one thing about me that I've learned over the years of doing the right thing, I just don't, if my hands are clean, I don't worry about it on that angle. I worry about it on an emotional level, because I don't know where we're about to go with things.
Yeah.
But, but in the meantime, as I'm driving home, I get a call, and it's a detective from the Cape Coral Police Department.
Before
And
you even talk to him again.
Yeah. In between the second call and me getting home to talk to my wife, I get a call from a detective. And what he had done was called me from one of these girls' phones.
Oh, man.
So that's how they got my phone number. And in the process, I got a text message from somebody telling me that my son had jumped on his girlfriend and tried to kidnap her. So as I'm on the phone with the detective, I get a text message that tells me that. So I'm thinking, oh man. The detective asked me who I was. I said, I'm his biological father. And she said, do you know where he's at? And I said, no, I don't know where he's at. And she said, have you heard from him? I said, yeah, I've talked to him a couple times today. And she said, are you going to talk to him again? We need to talk to him. And I said, he said he'd call me later, And she said, listen, take this number down. If you hear from him, call us. I said, okay. Hung up the phone with her, went home, talked to my wife, told my wife about the text, told my wife about the detective, what Wade had said to me. And that's the only details I knew at that time. So, I was kind of left for a couple hours waiting to hear from him. And he finally called me. It was about 10 o'clock at night when he called me from the same number he called me from earlier.
And it's a girl's number.
No, not the first time. That was
okay.
from the girl phone. The second time was from a different number.
Oh, okay.
And he told me he was in a house, he was safe. What he did was he took both of their phones. So he kept Christine's phone open and called me from that phone initially. And then a lot of stuff happened in between, and he ended up in a house. He broke into a house. He called me about 10 o'clock, and we talked, just small talk for a few, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, Dad, I need you to come get me. I'm in trouble. So I'm like, my first reaction, I said, are you safe? And he goes, I'm safe. I just got to get out of here. So I jump up. I'm going to get my shoes on, get ready, and I'm going to drive down there and get him. Well, as I'm thinking about it, I said to myself, you better find out what's going on before you just drive down there.
Start touching things.
End up in some stuff. I don't want to be involved with this.
I'd be like, hold on, bro. Hold on, son.
Yeah.
Hold on, man. Let's talk about these 2 people you killed first, because I ain't coming over there and touching nothing of yours. As I would have done said straight like that to him.
Yeah. Well, I said to him as I'm getting ready and getting all my shit together, I said, listen, you got to tell me what's going on. I said, you know my past. I said, I need to know what's going on. And he started from the top. He told me him and Mila went to the Buddha hanging out, you know, and he gave me kind of a shorter version. He said they got into an argument,
And Mila is one
and
of his girlfriends,
that was his girlfriend.
main
Yeah.
girlfriend at the time.
Yeah. At the time. Yeah. Um, he said, we got in an argument, and I ended up leaving the bar with two girls. And I was like, okay. He left out the whole part about going to the dude's house and all that. He didn't tell me any of that. All he said was they went back to one of the girls' houses and hung out for a little while. He said, her friend left and they had sex, and she fell asleep on the bed. And he said he stayed up for a little while, just kind of partying. And he said he just walked in there, got on top of her, and choked her to death. And I was at first I was thrown by it. I didn't know. I'm trying to hear in his voice, is this another story? But I can hear the panic in his voice, you know. Um, I said, "Why, son?" And he said, "Dad, I don't know. Just wanted to do it." So
Do you believe
the
that?
more he, what's that?
Do you believe that?
The truth about it is, for years, I've told my wife, I said, my biggest fear is one day he's going to kill one of these girls, because I'm telling you,
You had so many
multiple,
calls, man,
oh my
from
God,
girls getting beat by him.
multiple girls, man, would call me, text me, you know, just desperate, young girls, just don't know what to do, don't know how to deal with it, looking for help, you know, and everybody would say, when he's not on drugs, man, he's a great dude. He's funny. He's cool to hang out with, but it's something in him, man, when he gets high, he just he flips out, man. I think he just took it one step farther this time. I think he's wanted to do that for a long time. I know he's never done that before. He's never killed a woman before. I know that. But I feared that he would one day. So when he told me that, it hurt me, but it didn't surprise me. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know. I think
just
he's wanted to do it for a while.
yeah,
And I think about all these, you know, videos and all this that people talk about. I wonder what all these people would say if all these prior girlfriends and baby mama, um, told their story,
yeah.
because they've been pretty quiet. I haven't seen anything from any of them.
Just trying to make sense of it. It's wild to think, man.
Yeah,
I never.
my 15-year-old,
Uh huh.
you know, these kids, they don't put their phones down.
Yeah.
So I think it's I think it's hard on my young son, because his friends have seen it, and
Mm.
kids in school I know had probably seen all this madness, and they talk shit, but he's a strong kid, and I've taught him to be strong mentally,
Yeah.
and he's handling it really good.
Well, that's
So I'm
good,
proud
man.
of
That's
him.
good.
Yeah. So the more he talked about it to me, um, the more I could hear it in his voice. He was almost reliving it. You know what I mean? And I had such a feeling listening to him tell me what he had done. It got to the point where I, I put the phone on speakerphone because I felt like if I told my wife this, she wouldn't have believed me.
Yeah.
And I felt like I needed somebody else to hear this because I almost felt, I went back to like seeing him born in my memory, bringing him home, holding him as a baby, sleeping with him, bathing him, feeding him, doing all these things with him. I missed all those other years. So my memory of him was as a baby. And now he's a man. And I'm hearing this man that I created, helped create, um, telling me the details of all these things with joy in his voice. It made me want to throw up. I literally
Yeah.
put the phone away and felt like I was just going to throw up. And at that moment, that's the moment when I realized I hadn't even heard about Diane's situation yet. But just the details that he went into about Christine, rolling her up in the bedding and tying her up and dragging her down trying to get her to the car, but he couldn't. She was too heavy, you know. Hearing him describe those things to me, it just, I can't explain that feeling, you know, from your kid, your son. Yeah, I didn't raise him. But we had a strong connection because he knew my past and we talked about that. We talked about, you know, getting help for his demons, getting him some drug help to get off the drugs. We had detailed conversations. And that's why he called me. That's why, he felt comfortable to talk to me about it because I think a part of him knew that I wouldn't judge him on it, but he knew I wouldn't be okay with it because we had countless conversations about the physical stuff with these girls in the past, and I would try to give him a different perspective. What if that was one of your sisters, man? What if that was your biological mom? What if that was your adopted mom? Would you want somebody treating them that way? You know, but it never changed. I know, Dad, I know I'm wrong, but the cycle would continue.
Yeah.
So it was hard to hear for sure.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Well, you already know that the detectives are pretty much getting a lead to everything that he's doing. So
Yeah.
they're gonna hear this.
Yeah.
So
I mean, before he even started continuing the story, in my mind, I knew, I can't help him with this.
oh, it was sealed shut right then.
When I'm a firm believer, man, you don't hurt children and you don't hurt women, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And these women were innocent. It's not like they got they were in a relationship and got in a heated argument. This was on the fly.
Yeah.
And it stemmed from his anger from his argument with Mila. That's where he really got pissed off
Oh man. Hold
at the
on.
bar.
See now, look. This is another little picture I was painting in my head. Because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
guys, man, if the girl's really mad at him for leaving with another girl, he could have snapped and said, well, I'm gonna take her out. Maybe that'll make her feel
Yeah,
a little better. Because he's so mad in a rage.
man, man. Yeah. And I don't know the ins and outs of the argument. He never went in detail with me about it, but I knew that that's where it stemmed from. His anger started there that night, and then you know the drugs and just probably stewing on that argument. He
Yep.
just he did what
Snapped.
he did,
Yeah.
you know. And so at that point, I wasn't 100%, but I was about 95% knowing this is bad. This I cannot go along with this. You know,
Yeah.
um,
And that's the thing, man. A lot of people, maybe not so many, but there's going to
yeah,
be some. I would
maybe
say
not so many.
that would say, "Ah, oh, hell no." Even after talking to detectives and all that, I'ma still
Yeah,
protect him. I'm not. Ain't no way. You get smoked right with him. You know what I mean? At this
and
point, there ain't no helping, like you
yeah,
said.
and let
Besides
me just
mentally.
right, exactly. And let me just make this clear. I've read a lot of stuff where people say, "Hell no," that not my son. I would never turn my son in. I would never do that.
Yeah,
Well, it's a hard decision, I promise you. And
yeah,
it's the worst decision I've ever had to make, like in my mind. Um, but I knew because I know him so well, I knew in my heart what was gonna happen. 100%. I knew what was gonna happen. I could hear it in his voice. And I tried, it was so bad, I was trying to almost calm him down, because he was so amped up telling me about it. And he just told me, he left her. He left her in the house. He took her car, took her phone, and
mm,
then he went into he didn't go in detail about Mila much in that situation, but he told me he was driving. He's like, I don't know where I'm at. He hadn't been in Fort Myers, Cape Coral area long at all. So he had no sense of direction. He didn't know where he was at. He was just driving. And to jump to Diane's situation, um, he told me that he saw her walking down the street. He stopped. He asked her for directions, asked her if she needed a ride, and she got in the car.
mm.
You know, I don't. You know, I battle with that because I just I don't get that part of it. And who knows
Who
what
knows?
really
At
happened.
that point,
You
he
know,
could have just snatched her up, man,
yeah.
and
Who
painted a
knows
picture however he wanted to paint it. You know what I mean?
exactly. He told me she got in the car and
And I hate to stop you again, but you
yeah,
hear comments like that. What kind of girl would just jump in someone's car? You know what I mean?
exactly.
We don't
Yeah,
know. You're
don't know.
don't know, man.
Don't know what
People will
happened.
take anything and run with it, man.
Yeah,
They it can't. You got to leave. It's too many possibilities. We only
yeah.
know what we
And
know.
there was only two people there for that situation, and he's the only one that's able to tell what happened.
Yeah,
So, um, he told me they drove for a few minutes, and he said, "Dad, I just reached over and I just choked the baby out with one hand, and I was driving with the other." Um, he said he then was looking for somewhere to dump her body, and he drove around for a little bit, and he said he went in and dumped her body in the woods. And he said to me, when he pulled her out of the car, he realized that she was still alive. And he said he got back in the car and he said, "Dad, I run that bitch over till she looked like spaghetti."
yeah. I
And
remember hearing about that.
hearing my son say that to me, um, I realized at that point that it was over. I knew he enjoyed it. I knew he wanted me to feel, I don't even think intentionally he wanted me to feel his excitement. I just feel like he just was so amped up talking about it. That's just how it came off to me, was almost like he wanted me to feel, the I don't want to say joy. I don't know what the feeling was.
Yeah.
Just adrenaline, maybe. He wanted me to feel that
Maybe he
with
wanted
him.
you to have some kind of a acceptance of it a little bit. In a sense.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Or maybe, you know, he was trying to get you tricked the hell up too.
Yeah.
There's some little, like, some bitter payback stuff. He's going down. He's going to bring the dad that should have been there for me down too. You never know. Because, you know, anyone who's been locked up knows you talking like to someone like that, you're making them an accessory right off the break.
Yeah.
Anyone would know that. And if they care about him at all, they wouldn't, you know? So they'd be very bland. But from what he's broke down everything to you.
And I'm giving you the short version of things.
Yeah.
When I tell you, it's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. It's the worst thing that I've ever listened to in my life. And it amplified it so much because, like I said, all I could think about was him as a baby, you know, just that innocent kid, you know. And I just was, in my mind was like, how did we get here? You know what I mean? How did we get here? Because he wasn't raised like that. His adoptive family, they're solid people, good people, hardworking, honest Christian people.
Have you spoken to them at all since that took place?
Yeah, I've spoken with his mother. Yeah,
I can only imagine how they're feeling about it. Like they can't.
Yeah,
believe it.
I mean, it's. I know how I feel. I can only imagine raising him. You know, and they went through a lot. You know, they tried everything with him. I mean, they tried everything. They put him in facilities to try to help him. They knew he was using drugs. They tried to get him help. You know, he was in and out of detention centers, and you know, he chose a different route. You know, they did their job, and they tried to instill morals and good values in him.
Yeah, salute to them, man. You know,
so they're solid people. This is not a reflection, anything on any part of them, because they really are great people.
Yeah.
So there's a part of it that never came out in the court. And, you know, after he was arrested, him and I spoke on the phone a few times. And it was 2 days after he was arrested. I got a call from that same detective. And she asked me, she said, "Do you think that Wade would talk to you?" And I said, "Yeah, I think he'll talk to me." And I asked her why, and she said, "You know, we're searching for Diane's body, and we can't find her. Do you think if you came down and visited with him, you know, that we could try to get some information, anything about it, you know?" And I said, "Yeah." So the next day, my wife and I drove down, and she stayed in the truck, and I went in to visit him. And
they give you a normal visit or some kind of special visit?
Through the glass on the phone.
Okay.
You know, he came up to the glass and he looked at me and he said, "Dad, did you turn me in?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." And he said, "Why?" And I said, "Son, the excitement that I heard in your voice on the phone scared me, because I knew that if you got away with this and got out of this area, that you would do it again."
Yeah.
And you know, he looked at me for a minute and he said, "You know, you know me so well." And I said, "What does that mean?" And he said, "You're exactly right. That's exactly what I would have done." And hearing him say that, it just solidified for me that I had made the right decision.
Oh yeah.
You know, because, you know, he openly said that to me, man, that was his intention, to get out of this area and keep on going. So for that, I don't care what anybody says. It doesn't bother me, because I know in my heart that I did the right thing. You know, I made the right choice.
Yeah, I agree. So, when I did that first video on it, I said that, man, you know, Can't let it ruin your whole life. You know, you got other kids and all kinds of stuff going on, man. He would
Yeah.
ruin all their lives if you
Yeah.
wanted to go. You would have to go on to run with your son. I mean, detectives already heard everything, you know. So
Yeah.
it's ridiculous for people to even think that that would help anything. You know, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
It wouldn't help nothing. I mean, did it end well, that conversation?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, in that visit was the first time that I saw or heard some emotion in my son's voice, because I said to him, I said, listen, you know, the second woman, I said, you know, she has two kids, right? And he was like, no. And I said, yeah, you know, I said, it's really hard for me, son, to sit at home and watch this media coverage and seeing her children on TV begging their mom to come home. I said, it's hard for me, son, because you and I both know that that's not going to happen. And I said to him, I said, you know, think about it. What if that was your sisters, your mother, your biological mom, you know, a woman you cared about? What, you know, would you want just, you know, someone to do the right thing? You know, I said, right now you look like an animal. I said, but you can turn it around. You know, you can do the right thing. I said, they need to find her body. And he was, you know, he had tears in his eyes. And he said, well, what do I do? I said, you tell the truth, son. I said, you tell the truth. What's done is done. You can't change it, but you can try to make it a little better, you know, for this family. And I didn't anticipate for him to go into detail with me about it, you know, but he said, I'm not familiar with Fort Myers. You know, I don't know the area. And I just thought to myself for a second, I said, did you throw her purse out of the car? And he said, yeah. I said, well, they found her purse. And it's like a light bulb clicked in his head. And he said, okay, well, where her purse was, you know, if you go down a little bit, there's like a neighborhood where they're building houses. They're real spread out. He said, I turned in there and I went to the back and I saw a wooded area, and that's where I put her body. So, thankfully, he did that. You know, he did the right thing with that,
So it's
and
the truth.
I know they found her body that day. So, um, he he asked me, you know, will you tell the detectives to come talk to me, and I'll tell them the truth. Well, they were watching the video, you know, the visit, so they already knew the truth. And they did come talk to him that night, and that's where that confession that was played in court. That's when that happened, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I, I've heard people say, you know, he was set up. I've read stuff that says, you know, his dad probably did it,
Yeah.
and he's, you know, using his son as the fall guy. I just it blows my mind the it blows my mind the theories that people come up with sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
You had asked me about you know, when I first met him.
Yeah.
And you know, like I said, we talked for a little while, and he was in and out of jail. You know, the time he was in Tallahassee, I was in Central Florida. So, you know, it never worked out. And he ended up getting locked up one day in Tallahassee in the county jail.
Mm-hmm.
And I called up there and talked to a supervisor or whatever. And I said, you know, I explained the situation to him. I said, this is my son, you know, he was given up for adoption. Haven't had the chance to meet him. You know, is there any way I can come up and visit? And he said, can you be here tonight? I said, yeah. And he said, all right, when you get here, I'll let you visit for a little while. So that's where we met face to face the first time, you know. And I remember he was already sitting down through the glass, when I walked up, and we picked up the phone, and he looked at me and he said, "Are you my dad?" I said, "Yep, I'm your dad." And he said, "I knew it." It was almost like we just, we connected, you know.
Sad, man.
Yeah, we did connect, but we just never had the chance. He was doing his thing, so
It's your son, man. You know,
yeah.
very, very, very sad story. But I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie, it's one hell of a story. You know,
Yeah, it is.
something out of a fictional movie. You
Yeah,
know,
it's
no,
crazy.
no parent can ever imagine something like this unfolding. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've
But
had people ask me, what if one of your two boys did something like this? What would you do? And I said, first of all, I raised those boys. I can promise you they would never do that. I would bet my life that that would never happen, I've taught them good morals. Their moms taught them good morals. And I don't know where that comes from, man. I'm not that guy.
yeah,
I'm not aggressive like that with women. I don't do that.
yeah,
So I don't know. I don't know where that came from, man. I have dealt with a little guilt behind this, and I know it's stupid, and I know that I had, it's not my fault
I
at
think it's
all.
normal, man. Everyone would feel a little bit of
Yeah.
guilt if they got a heart. You know?
Well, my guilt comes from he was in Tallahassee, man. He wasn't doing good. He said he wanted to straighten up. He said he wanted to get clean. He wanted to come down here with me and work, and I said to him, I said, "Listen, you can't come down here and work with me like this." I said, "You need to get some help, man." I said, "I'll set it up for you. I'll take care of everything." And I didn't think he would go, but he went. And I put him on a bus from Tallahassee to Palm Beach. And he stayed a couple weeks in the facility, and met up with somebody, and left, and my guilt has always been, um, maybe if I hadn't have sent him down to South Florida, heading down to Palm Beach and the Keys and all that, it was wide open for him.
Yeah.
He I thought he had a good setup. He was working, and the problem was he just couldn't stop. He couldn't stop getting high. He couldn't stop the drinking. He doesn't have a license. So, he's driving all over the Keys, getting pulled over, getting arrested, going to jail. I heard this theory uh, that said, when he was down in the Keys, it was a whole international drug ring, and
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about this. Yeah,
human
yeah,
trafficking, and this and that. And he was brought down for security. Listen, do you really think a big organization like that is going to hire a convicted felon with no license to be their driver and their security?
yeah.
No, they're not doing that.
Well,
I mean, it's common sense thinking.
and there's a lot of things that I've said to myself, man, he is just making stuff up, you know? And
Yeah,
when I've realized that, then I realized, like we were talking about earlier, anything could be possible. And the way these
that's right.
individuals died, how it all happened, everything could just be a bullshit paint job, you know, with
Yeah,
a little bit of truth in it.
yeah,
If I were to bet it, I'd bet my whole house on it, you know?
100%. And you know how it goes when people first get arrested and they're coming off that dope or whatever they're doing. That's when they're more authentic.
Yeah,
They're making those phone calls and they're apologizing and they're telling the truth. It's when they've sobered up and they've had time to think about and process what they've done and what they're facing. That's when the stories start. That's when, oh, I need to make that. I'm innocent. I'm innocent, and these stories are created and these people run with these stories.
Yeah.
It's just, it's madness to me.
Yeah.
The irony of it is he's still pulling the strings from a jail cell, He's got, I mean, it's just crazy. I was looking at these accounts, raising money and stuff. And I may have missed it, but I went down the list of all these people that have donated. And hey, what you do with your money, it's your money. I don't care what you donate your money to, but it's just all women. It's all women. And if you really
That's
sit
kind of
back and
scary,
think,
man.
that's what I'm saying. Like, really sit back and think about, if you go down the donation list, it's all women.
Yeah.
So think about that. I mean, he's pulling y'all strings from a jail cell, you know? And he's a good-looking kid. He's a man, and he knows it. He
Yeah,
knows he's a
I
good-looking
think that's a
man.
bulk. If he was ass ugly, man, I don't think it would be going down like that. Trust me.
Yeah, there was
Let
a
me. I do have something I gotta ask you, man.
yeah.
And I was like, how the hell did he get that nice blue suit in the courtroom? Who got him that suit, man?
All right, this is simple. There's when he was in Palm Beach, he met a guy. It's a Christian guy, I think. Him and his wife. They have like an outreach, to help young people on the streets and young drug addicts and stuff like that. And he befriended this guy, and this guy went to Goodwill um, prior to the trial starting, and matched up all the suits and had
Damn,
him
he got
for
that
him.
snazzy thing from the Goodwill.
Yeah, yeah. He said he went to Goodwill and got him.
I thought someone important got them threads dug up for.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm surprised they
yeah,
even let him in there with something that flashy. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I wonder.
yeah,
I wonder. Did the guy know what he was going to court for?
yeah, yeah, yeah. He knew the situation. I think he's still in touch with
Oh
Wade. I think they
man! Oh
still
man!
communicate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He knew he had
So
to dress to impress for that, huh?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy, man. But yeah, the
yeah.
ladies might see him in that sharp suit. You know, bad boy look,
Hmm.
and not to mention a lot of girls too. They're trying to get a payday too.
Yeah, I saw something earlier where, mentioned, thankfully he's been able to be in touch with his family again.
Oh yeah.
And I can assure you he has not reached out to anybody. His
Oh,
adoptive parents, anybody. So,
not even
you
you.
know, no, 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 nobody. Nobody. Because, I hate to say this, but he doesn't need anybody right now. His commissary's fat. He's got a He's got an army of wives, I think they call themselves,
My
and
God, man.
that's all he's ever wanted. Take care of me in jail, take care of me on the streets, take care of me. You know, and as his dad, I hate that. I hate that side of him. It's so much easier to be genuine and honest and not use people. You know, and I hate that for him. I hate that at his age that he still does that, you know. But he knows he's a good looking man, and that's his mo.
Yeah. Very
So
selfish
I
individual.
just
It sounds like, man.
yeah, and I just I wish I had more time to try to help him through some of those issues and turn him around, but there's just no going back from that.
Yeah.
So there's an old saying. I've thought about it today. It says, "I brought you into this world, and I'll take you out of it."
Mm-hmm.
And I know what it implies, but I don't mean it that way. I mean the free world. I felt like as his dad, with what he did, um, it was my responsibility to not have another family go through that. And it was hard for me to do that, but in my heart, I knew that was the right choice. So
Yeah.
I don't regret it.
Yeah. I mean, do you think was there any point before he stopped talking to you that you had wind that he might be really angry at y'all?
You know, I asked him, and when we were visiting, and he said, "I'm not mad at you. I know you did what you had to do. So I know that was the genuine Wade in that visitation. So I kind of hold on to that because we haven't spoke. The last time we spoke, um, we got into it on the phone because he was reaching out to the media, trying to do these interviews from jail, and claiming I'm set up, I didn't do it.
Yeah, I've seen
And
some
he
of
called,
those.
yeah, he called me after that, and I said, "Son, what are you doing, man?" I said, "Listen, I know what you're trying to do, but the way it comes off, it just you sound so phony. You sound fake. You're stumbling over your words. You're kind of making stuff up as you go." And I said, it's not being received well. You know, I had told him, I said, don't talk to the media. I know they have a job to do and I respect their job, but when you're trying to fumble over your words and kind of make stuff up on the fly, it comes off bad.
Yeah.
And that was my point, you know, to telling him that, you
And
don't
all
need to
that
you
all
don't
that
need to
stuff
do
might
that.
be brought up and looked at during his
Yeah,
full sentencing as well, So
exactly.
judges might see
Exactly.
this stuff and see right through the evilness and like this guy's got to go, you
Yeah.
know. Florida's good for
Yeah.
that, man. They're definitely are. But this is another thing, if he ever hits any other prisons, if he don't stay, yeah. Do you know if he's what kind of living conditions he's in? 23-1,
No.
I'm guessing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
They've got him locked down. Him and a cellmate that he had a few years ago, they tried to escape out of the jail
yeah. I read
out of
about
their
that.
window.
Yeah,
So I think since then he's been locked down.
yeah. No,
So
especially with the popularity of the case too now. Probably gonna
yeah.
keep him in there because if he ever hits the main line, man, some people might have something in store for him.
Yeah. And the other thing I feel like I have to defend in a way is is all these swastikas and all that.
Yeah,
That's not who he is. You know, he at all. That's not who he is. That's all for show. That's his defense mechanism, because like I said before, when he was in prison, he I think he spent more time in protective custody than he did on the yard. So um I think that's all just trying to look big and bad, you know. I just wanted to say, I haven't spoke to anybody about this. I've had reporters. I get so many messages, and that's just not my thing.
yeah,
I didn't used to be in this situation, but from the start, I respected your take on everything because you understand the
yeah,
situation and you've been vocal on that, and I appreciate that
yeah.
because a lot of people have had my back, but a lot of people have condemned me for what I think doing the right thing,
Yeah,
you know,
it
and it was
was.
hard, but I
But
did it because I knew I needed to.
I mean, he even said it to you, man. I was gonna do it again. I
Yeah.
mean, that should solidify any kind of thought process like that for you, at least. But
Well, maybe all these online detectives, maybe they can figure out a way to get a copy of that visit video. And, I guess at that point they'll figure out a way to, discredit something. But
yeah, they always will. They always will.
yeah,
It's how it goes. But
yeah,
sad what he did, and my condolences go out to the family members once again that had to go
Absolutely.
through any of this. Any family member, even the Foster family, they raised them, so I'm sure they felt a lot like it was their own.
Yeah. And you know what else, man, that I don't think people really get, or maybe they just don't care. But when you put all this misinformation out and you're posting all these the same old pictures and the same old stupid stuff, you need to think about these two women's families.
Yeah,
You need to think about, you know, their children, man. It's not just Wade that's going through something. It's not, you know, th- they have to watch this if they choose to.
yeah,
And they know what it feels like to go through what they went through. And I can assure you it was horrific to both of these women.
yeah,
And it was unnecessary. But before you say things and post things, you really should sit back and think about these people whose
yeah,
lives forever are changed
yeah,
because of something that should have been avoidable.
yeah.
So,
It is what it
but I
is,
appreciate you.
man. Yep, I appreciate you as well, my friend. And how are you gonna feel if they say death?
I don't even know, man. I don't even know because I think I'm torn with that because I've always been I've seen it differently. I get a lot of people, that no death penalty about, and I get it. I respect your opinion, but I personally have lived with some of the worst monsters, and I've seen their behavior, you know, and so I have a different outlook on certain things. There's a limit to people's grace when it comes to certain crimes, but I do feel when you do something so just brutal, I don't know. There's no rehabilitation in prison. You know, just like it's just no different than an animal shelter. They let you out a little bit, throw you some food, throw you some water, whatever. There's no rehabilitation. So I'm torn with that because I know in his heart he doesn't want to be in general population for the rest of his life. I know um, he wants that security, and I know that you know being on death row, isolated. I think a part of him really knows that he has to have that because with everything he's put all over himself and with the things he's done and some of his life choices, he knows he can't freely walk a prison yard. It's just not going to happen. So, I don't know. When that day comes, that's something I'll have to live with the rest of my life, thinking about, my child um, possibly getting executed. So, I haven't even dove deep on that one yet.
Yeah, I can only imagine, man. Because even though you did connect with them, you know, uh, I'm guessing he's still kind of like a little bit of a stranger to you in a sense, huh?
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of things. Yeah, and I'm the type of person, man. I'm a fixer. I
Mm-hmm.
want to. People that know me know I'm going to help you. I'm there. Anything. But I don't know. This one got me. I wasn't expecting it. Um, so I don't know.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. It just shit into the stick. You gotta play your cards how they're dealt. That's all you can do about it, man. Is there any kind of advice that you could give to any parents out there that might be dealing with a violent kid or anything? Anything that might come across your mind.
I mean, the only thing I can say is you know, do what's right. Do everything in your power to help them, get through it. Push them. Sometimes tough love is the best, but I pray nobody is in this situation as a parent. And
Yeah.
ultimately at the end of the day, if you know that you've done everything in your power for that child and they still choose to make certain choices, it hurts. You know, you can you wish you could fix it, but you have to do what's right, and you have to think about other people and their suffering.
Yeah.
And it's hard when it's at the hands of a life you created. It's hard.
Yeah.